Hello friends, today we will discuss about the world of spirit, Geist. Spirit is not a ghost, it is not a supernatural force. Spirit is the shared life of a community. It is your language, your laws, your customs, your art, and your religion. Spirit is the I that is we and the we that is I. This is the most important idea in the whole book. You are not just you are also your family, your city, your country, and your history. Your deepest identity is not private, it is public. Hegel begins with the Greeks. Why the Greeks? Because they had true spirit. They lived in harmony. The individual and the community were one. A Greek citizen did not say, I have a contract with the state. He said, I am the state is me. There was no gap, there was no private conscience standing against public law. This beautiful world had two main laws. First, the human law. This is the law of the city, the government, and the public sphere. It is masculine. It belongs to men who fight and speak in the assembly and rule. Second, the divine law. This is the law of the family, the home, the burial of the dead. It is feminine. It belongs to women who tend the hearth and honor the ancestors. Both laws are necessary, both are good, but they can conflict. Hegel uses Sophocles' play Antigone to show this conflict. Here is the story. Antigone's two brothers kill each other in a civil war. One brother is declared a hero, the other brother is declared a traitor. The new king, Creon, says the traitor's body must rot on the battlefield. No one may bury him. Antigone faces a terrible choice. The divine law, family, says she must bury her brother. The human law, the state, says she must obey the king. She cannot do both. She chooses the divine law, she buries her brother. Creon punishes her. She is locked in a cave to die, but then tragedy strikes. Creon's own son, who loves Antigone, kills himself. Creon's wife kills herself. Creon is left alone broken. What does this mean? It means that both laws were right and both laws were wrong. The Greek world was beautiful, but it contained a fatal contradiction. It could not hold both laws together. It produced individuals like Antigone who had to choose, and once individuals start choosing, the harmony is broken. The Greek world collapses. It falls to the Roman Empire, and Rome is a completely different kind of spirit. Rome is not a beautiful community of friends. Rome is a machine. It is a machine of legal rights. In Rome, you are not a citizen of a living city, you are an abstract person. You have rights, you own property, you can make contracts, but you have no deep connection to others. You are an atom, a lonely point. Hegel calls this self alienated spirit. Spirit is alienated from itself, it is split, it lives in two separate worlds. The first world is the real world. This is the world of the state, money, power, and vanity. People flatter the emperor, they chase wealth, they are empty inside. The second world is the world of faith. This is the world of religion, the beyond, the afterlife. People hope for a better world after death. Because this world is so miserable, these two worlds are split. They do not talk to each other. But then comes the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment says, stop believing in fairy tales. Stop chasing empty status. Look at the real world. Look at nature. Look at utility. What works? What is useful? The Enlightenment attacks faith. It calls it superstition. It demands proof. It demands evidence. This is good in some ways, but Hegel sees a danger. The Enlightenment reduces everything to utility. A thing is good if it is useful. A person is good if they are useful. But what is the highest use? The highest use is whatever the individual wants. This leads to pure selfishness, and selfishness, pushed to its limit, becomes absolute freedom and terror. Now we come to the French Revolution. Hegel interprets the revolution as the logical outcome of the Enlightenment. The revolution said, no more kings, no more priests, no more tradition. We will make our own laws, we will be absolutely free. This sounds wonderful, but Hegel asks, what is absolute freedom? Absolute freedom is the will of the whole people. But the whole people is not one person, it is many people with different opinions. How do you make one will out of many? The revolution's answer was the guillotine. You kill anyone who disagrees. You eliminate the opposition. You purify the people by cutting off heads. This is the terror. Thousands died. Robespierre, the leader of the terror, was eventually executed himself. The revolution ate its own children. What did the terror teach? It taught that abstract freedom is death. If you try to be free by destroying everything outside yourself, you end up destroying yourself. The only deed of absolute freedom is the negative, cold, meaningless death of the guillotine. Spirit is horrified, it retreats inward, it says, I cannot trust the state, I cannot trust the revolution, I must trust my own inner conscience. We have moved to morality. After the terror, German philosophers like Kant tried to find a new foundation for freedom. They looked inside the individual. They looked at universal moral duty. Kant said, do not follow your feelings, do not follow tradition, follow the moral law that your own reason gives to itself. Act only on maxims that could be universal laws. This is a noble idea, but Hegel sees a problem. The moral law is empty. Act so that your action could be a universal law. That sounds good, but try to fill it in. What specific duties does it give you? Kant says, do not lie, do not steal, keep your promises. But why these? Why not others? The universal law tells you the form of duty. It does not tell you the content. Hegel calls this dissemblance. You say you are acting from duty, but are you really? Maybe you are acting from pride. Maybe you are acting from fear. Maybe you are acting from a desire to feel superior. You can never be sure. Morality becomes a game of hiding your real motives. This leads to the conscience. Conscience says, I do not need universal laws. I know in my heart what is right. My inner voice tells me. This sounds more honest, but Hegel sees a new problem. If everyone follows their own inner voice, what happens when voices conflict? You say your conscience tells you to do X. I say my conscience tells me to do Y. Who is right? There is no judge. There is only conflict. This leads to the beautiful soul. The beautiful soul in a person who is pure inside. They have beautiful intentions. They never act because acting would dirty their purity. They just sit and feel their own goodness. The beautiful soul is useless. It never helps anyone. It never changes anything. It just glows for a moment and then fades away. It is like a bell rung once. The sound dies, nothing remains. But Hegel finds a way out. It is called forgiveness. Imagine two beautiful souls. They accuse each other of being hypocrites. They judge each other harshly. Each says, I am pure. You are evil. This is a standoff. No one moves. But then one of them does something radical. They confess. They say, you are right. I am not pure. I am flawed. I have made mistakes. They do not make excuses. They just admit their fault. What happens to the other? The other now do one of two things. They can keep judging or they can forgive. If they forgive, something miraculous happens. The hard heart breaks. The two become one. They recognize themselves in each other. The split is healed. Hegel says, in this act of forgiveness, God actually appears. Not a God in the sky, a God in the middle of human beings, reconciling them to each other. This is the breakthrough. we are ready for religion. Hegel now shows that religion is not a set of false beliefs. Religion is spirit representing itself to itself in picture form. First is natural religion. This is the religion of light, Zoroastrianism, of plants and animals, Egyptian animal gods, and of the artisan, pyramids. Here, God is a force of nature. This is the lowest form. Second is the art religion. This is Greek religion. The Greeks made statues of their gods. The gods looked like beautiful humans. In Greek tragedy, the heroes struggled with fate. In Greek comedy, the gods were laughed at. The art religion dissolves when the individual realizes that the gods are just masks. The actor is behind the mask. The self is the real power. Third is revealed religion. This is Christianity. Why is Christianity the highest religion? Because it shows the truth of the master slave dialectic in religious form. Look at the story. God the Father is the unchangeable essence. He is pure spirit, but he empties himself. He becomes a human being. Jesus is God in the flesh. This is the incarnation. The infinite becomes finite. The master becomes the slave. Then Jesus dies on the cross. This is the death of God. It is the most painful moment. The disciples are left alone. The beautiful soul of early Christianity just yearns for the distant beyond. But then the resurrection happens, not a physical return. The resurrection is the birth of the religious community. The disciples realize that Christ is not gone. Christ is in them. Christ is in their shared love, their shared meals, and their shared memory. This is the I that is we. The Holy Spirit is not a ghost. The Holy Spirit is the community of believers recognizing each other. Christianity teaches that God is not a distant tyrant. God is a vulnerable human who dies, and then God lives on in the community. This is the absolute truth, but told in picture form. Philosophy must now translate these pictures into pure concepts. Absolute knowing is a scary term, but it is simple. It does not mean knowing everything, it means knowing that the journey is the destination. Remember the beginning. We started with sense certainty. We thought the truth was a this right in front of us. We were wrong. We kept failing. We kept hitting contradictions. We kept being forced to a higher level. Now, at the end, we look back, we see that every failure was a step forward. The mistakes were not wasted, they were education, they were experience. Absolute knowing is the full recollection of this whole journey. It is not a secret revealed at the end, it is the whole path itself, seen clearly for the first time. Hegel says something beautiful. He says, time is the concept that is there. What does this mean? It means that history is not just a bunch of random events. History is spirit, slowly, painfully learning what it is. Each shape of consciousness was a real historical period. Ancient Greece was true spirit. Rome was self alienated spirit. The French Revolution was absolute freedom and terror. Kantian morality was spirit certain of itself. These were not just philosophical experiments, they were real lives, real deaths, real struggles. The Golgotha, the place of the skull, the place of Jesus' crucifixion, is the museum of these dead shapes. Spirit must pass through all of them. There is no shortcut. At the very end, Hegel quotes the poem by Schiller. It says, out of the chalice of this realm of spirits forms forth to him his infinity. What does this mean? It means that truth is not a dry, dead formula. Truth is like wine. It foams, it lives, it is shared among friends. Infinity is not a distant beyond. Infinity is right here in the shared life of the community. Let us review the whole journey. First, we learned that the senses lie. You cannot grasp a singular this. Language always gives universals. Second, we learned that things are not stable, perception falls apart into contradiction. Third, we learned that hidden forces and laws are just empty explanations. The supersensible world is just the inversion of the sensible world. Fourth, we learned that self consciousness needs recognition. The master slave dialectic shows that the slave, through work and fear, becomes the true locus of freedom. Fifth, we learned that spirit is not an individual, spirit is the shared life of a community. The Greeks had true spirit, but it collapsed. The Romans had alienated spirit, a world of abstract legal rights. Sixth, we learned that the French Revolution's absolute freedom led to the terror. Abstract freedom is death. Seventh, we learned that morality and conscience are empty. The beautiful soul is useless, but forgiveness heals the split. Eighth, we learned that religion, especially Christianity, pictures the truth. God becomes human, God dies, God lives in the community. Finally, we learned that absolute knowing is not a secret, it is a full recollection of the whole journey. Time is spirit's education, history is spirit's self revelation. We must remember that we are not lonely thinkers. We are spirit, and spirit is not a thing, it is a movement. It is the I that is we, and the we that is I.